Hello friends, so today we'll be continuing with our initiative of one day one answer. Today's subject of discussion will be international relations, and in international relations I have taken up Indian diaspora to be the theme. If you look into the PYQs, na Indian diaspora ka question are asked every year or every alternate year, so it is the most frequently asked question. One thing that you have to know with respect to diaspora is that Indian diaspora, basically speaking, is very diverse. Hence, what I want you to do is look into different aspects of Indian diaspora from regional point of view. All right, we'll look into that. We'll look into that. Don't worry. But let us start with the most basic question in this particular theme, and that is what is diaspora? What basically is diaspora? And then we can go further. What basically is diaspora? So it is group of individuals. It is group of individuals connected through cultural and regional origin and stay or residing away from their homeland. So this is your basic definition for diaspora. What I want you to do is in 15 marker I want you to basically write this definition. Okay. Second thing with respect to diaspora, if you take into consideration Indian diaspora specifically, so what do we understand from World Migration Report? World Migration Report states that Indian diaspora is most widespread in the world, and second thing it also says largest in number. All right. Over the period of time, what we have seen is the reasons for Indian diaspora to migrate out of India have differed. Okay. So what is also essential to know in international relations is reason for migration of Indian diaspora. Basically, reasons for migration of Indian diaspora. So if I have to go into reasons, so what is the first reason at this point of time? First reason is obviously livelihood. All right, first reason is livelihood when it comes to Indian diaspora. In livelihood, now what you can take into consideration is two aspects. One is matlab, an high-end livelihood, and other is sustenance wala livelihood. Many Indians migrate to other countries. Many Indians basically migrate to another countries for the reason of sustaining themselves. Okay? So if you take into consideration people moving into Israel or people moving into the war zones of Russia, that is absolutely for the purpose of sustaining themselves. Second reason with respect to evolution of Indian diaspora. Second reason basically for the purpose of migration of Indian diaspora has been medical in nature, though this has come down to a large extent now. Okay, people suffering from different diseases, they do migrate to other countries for better medical facilities, better treatment, though as I said this has come down, but still it remains, still basically it remains. Okay. Third point with respect to Indian diaspora and why people basically move out is education. And fourth point, and this is related more to females, and that is marriage. This is marriage. So these are basic reason of Indian diaspora moving out. These are basic reasons of Indian diaspora being created. Historically, it was more related to being, or taking up jobs that were low paying. But now what we see is high-end jobs are being sought by Indian diaspora. If you take into consideration why Indian diaspora has become so much important for UPSC, why it has why questions regularly are being asked on Indian diaspora. देखो reasons for questions. First reason for question basically is it has become the tool of diplomacy. It has basically become tool of diplomacy for India. Okay, and it has served India well with respect to those particular diplomatic tools, with respect to our objectives of Indian foreign policy. Second, the diversity of Indian diaspora. There is no region in the world, I'll not say country, but no region in the world basically where you do not find Indian diaspora. Okay, so UPSC gets a diversity with respect to asking questions. Now remember, general points with respect to Indian diaspora are the same, but what you need for the purpose of getting more marks or getting some brownie points is having specifics. For example, the way in which Indian diaspora acts in North America is significantly different from the way in which Indian diaspora basically carries forwards India's foreign policy objectives in East Asia. ठीक है, the way in which they have assimilated in East Asia is completely different from the way in which they are trying to now assimilate themselves in Central Asia or Russia. So you have to know the specific with respect to different regions. Of course, general outline I will draw it for you in the question that we see. All right. Third point with respect to Indian diaspora. Third point with respect to Indian diaspora is their economic importance, and then the question whether it has led to brain drain. It is leading to brain drain. That is, people who can contribute to Indian economy, Indian knowledge sector are moving out and therefore causing loss to India as a country. All right. Is it leading to brain drain? With respect to brain drain, the point has to be that Indian diaspora, if it leads to migration to another countries, if it leads to migration to another country, what it will do is it will create opportunity in those countries, and it has been seen that those opportunities are brought to India also. With respect to brain drain का point ना, don't be excessively harsh, don't be basically excessively harsh, it will not help your cause. So these are the reasons why question basically is asked on UPSC, and this therefore also have to be the points on which you have to concentrate by writing answer on. This has to be also points that you have to take into consideration while writing answers to your questions. Okay, your point of view has to be drafted with respect to these 4 points. Okay, with respect to these 4 points, these are the reasons why Indian diaspora move out. So when you are answering the question with respect to Indian diaspora and their movement in the other countries or how they behave in other countries, now basically think about these points. Basically what you can do is think about this point, and this point will trigger you content that will help to elevate your answers. Now what we have to also take into consideration, and this is the most important part of the answer, the most important part of Indian diaspora, and that is, what benefit does India get from diaspora? Okay, benefits we'll look into detail when we basically discuss the question, but what benefits do we get? First benefit we get is economic benefit. All right. Second, political benefit. In detail we will talk about it, don't worry. Okay. Third benefit, if I take into consideration Indian diaspora, third benefit from the point of view of is strategic benefit. Okay. More or less benefits of one or the other kind will fall in one of these categories. ठीक है, कोई भी benefit हो ना, it will basically fall in one of these categories. Mostly the questions will be based on this, and second thing that they might ask you is challenges that basically Indian diaspora faces. So what we'll do is we'll look into the question, and through that question now we will get into the deeper angles of this particular point. Deeper angles of this particular points. Let us get into the question itself now. So if I had to talk about Indian diaspora, so the question that I have provided for you is from 2023. Indian diaspora has scaled new heights in West. Describe its economic and political benefits for India. देखो basic question है, it is a very basic question. what UPSC might do is, instead of West, it could provide you East Asia, it could provide you Central Asia, it could provide you Africa. ठीक है. Again, what I want you to do is focus upon these different regions where there is in a way large presence of Indian diaspora, and take into consideration specific aspects, ठीक है, of political benefit, of economic benefits in that area that India gets because of the diaspora. And third thing is, look into the challenges that Indian diaspora basically faces in those particular parts of the world. So if I have to take into consideration this question, so this question focuses on the West. As I told you, what you have to do is you have to basically mention the definition of diaspora, which we have looked into. All right, and then you have to mention the report of, in the introduction, report of world migration. Okay, you have to mention world migration report, not report of. You have to mention the world migration report. All right. Third thing, you have to mention that this diaspora causes economic and political benefits to India, or what you can mention it, it helps serve economic and political ends of India. Economic and political ends of India. Now, getting into the main body of the answer, first start with economic benefits. Alright, here now what is needed is data. Again, what I say is exact data should not be remembered, does not have to be remembered. If you know the figure in the ballpark range, now that will be more than enough. So for example, what we can say is the first benefit India receives, economic benefit that India receives, is remittances. Taken, and these remittances help in bridging our balance of payment deficit. For the sake of data, what you can write is India received $83 $83 billion as remittances in the year 2022, or in any given year as such. Okay, this is now a huge number. Second thing with respect to remittances, you have to basically remember that this is basically also our last chunk of foreign reserves, foreign currency reserves. Without this, what will basically happen is India's deficit with respect to foreign currency will increase, and it will be difficult for India to basically import goods from the other countries. Second point with respect to economic benefits is of course investments. Indian diaspora amounts to the biggest community as such when it comes to investing in India. Alright, when it comes to foreign direct investment in India or foreign portfolio investments in India, यहाँ पे what you can do is you can provide examples, and यहाँ पे I would say Vinod Khosla is the best example. Okay, he basically is the best example with respect to investing in Indian startups. What also has been seen with respect to economy itself is the knowledge transfer, which again accelerates the growth of Indian economy. As I told you, Indian immigrants, what they do is they basically provide for opportunities. They basically showcase valuable skill sets, expertise. Okay, and what they do is they basically sharpen those particular expertise in the country in which they have migrated and transfer the same to India. Transfer the same in India. Zuhu founder. Basically, you can take the example of Zuhu founder, who has been in sorts the example. Okay, who has been in short an example of knowledge transfer. Indian diaspora also, in a great way, is involved in philanthropy. It is also involved in philanthropy, which provides opportunities for Indians who cannot pursue education on their own or pursue healthcare on their own. Okay, this again supplements India's economy. This again pushes India's economy, and therefore, and there also has to be the point of trade links. There also has to be point of trade link. So Indian diaspora, what it basically do is it promotes India's exports into the country in which they reside. Indian exports in the country in which they reside. A primacy is given to Indian exports by Indian diaspora. There is basically no hiding this fact. Then we come to political benefits. Then we basically come to political benefits. In political benefits, the first thing that Indian diaspora does for India is lobbying. ठीक है. So ethnic Indian organizations, what they do is they form lobby groups and they try to incline the decision of the country in which they live towards India. Indo-US nuclear deal that was signed between George W. Bush and Manmohan Singh is the best example of it. That deal would not have happened without the assistance of Indian diaspora. With respect to political benefits, now it also raises the Indian diaspora, the way in which it has performed and the way in which it showcases itself. What it has done is it has elevated India's position. India's position, and therefore, okay, uh, diplomats or the country in which they live, they take India very seriously, very seriously, and they understand the needs of India in a better way. They understand the needs of India in better way. It has led to formation of strategic ties. It has basically led to formation of strategic ties. ठीक है. So specific needs of India are been are been understood, are basically been understood by the people of other countries. Specific needs of India are understood by other countries because of Indian diaspora. There is basically a sense of camaraderie between Indians and the people, original people of those particular countries, and therefore specific interest of India, for example, defense ties are basically given primacy over other countries. Also, what we have seen is Indian diaspora has elevated India's soft power. It has elevated India's soft power. ठीक है. And because of elevation of this soft power, India's cultural festivals, cultural events, yoga, ठीक है, it is promoted in different countries, and that shows India in a positive light. That basically shows India in a positive light, and this expands India's presence amongst the people. ठीक है, not only policymakers but amongst the people, and that provides for elevated benefit in the sector or the region of politics. ठीक है. So this basically will be your answer more or less. What I will basically suggest you is to also take into consideration challenges. In this answer, challenges was not asked. In this particular question, challenges was not asked. But what I will discuss with you for 5 minutes is challenges that Indian diaspora faces. So it can be one of the questions. Now it can be part of one of the questions. What is the first challenge? Discrimination. Indian diaspora does undergo discrimination or face discrimination in various parts of the world, including North America, or the biggest instance of discrimination comes from North America. So that is one of the problems that Indian diaspora basically faces. Second is turbulence in the country. Turbulence in the country in which they reside. For example, West Asia. ठीक है, West Asia, crisis in West Asia, political crisis in West Asia are not new. So whenever there are political crises in West Asia, Indian diaspora basically comes into danger. Indian diaspora comes into problem. Third issue with respect to Indian diaspora. Another challenge with respect to Indian diaspora is diversity of Indian diaspora. देखो, it is diversity of Indian diaspora basically is a plus point for India, but in a way it is also a minus point for India. Why is it a minus point for India? in a way disadvantage for India, because you know strategy therefore has to be made according to the needs of each diaspora. There cannot be a general strategy, and here we suffer a lot. Okay. As far as indian government is concerned as far as Indian government is concerned, specific specific strategy for a specific region, for a particular type of diaspora, has not been prepared by Indian government, and that is the biggest challenge with respect to reaching out to our diaspora. That is the biggest challenge with respect to reaching out to Indian diaspora. So the strategy cannot be same when you talk about, you know, reaching out to CEO of a country, of a company in North America, and a laborer that is working in Africa, say Africa or West Asia. So that is one of the problems with respect to Indian diaspora and Indian foreign policy regarding Indian diaspora. ठीक है. Government has taken some initiatives. So in these answers ना, if what government has done, उस पे अगर आपको कुछ लिखना है तो talk about some initiatives of government of India with regard to Indian diaspora. For example, प्रवासी भारतीय दिवस. Talk about Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. Second, talk about other initiatives. For example, India Development Foundation, India Development Foundation for overseas Indians, India Development Foundation for overseas Indian, Know Your India program, No India program, sorry, No India program. Third is scholarships offered for Indian diaspora by Indian government. And last I will say is Vande Bharat mission. Vande Bharat mission, where basically what happened was Indian government took initiatives to bring back our diaspora during COVID-19 crisis. And in fact, Vande Bharat missions like Vande Bharat do take place whenever there is crisis in the places where Indian diaspora resides. ठीक है, तो this would be, मतलब we have discussed the answer, and we have also discussed the basic framework on through which questions on Indian diaspora might be asked to you. All right, thank you so much friends. Bye. Keep writing, we are there with you. We will provide you with feedback, provide your answers on Telegram. Okay, we will reach out to you, we will provide you the feedback on those particular answers. Thank you so much. Bye.